Hello everyone, it's Melanie. I'm here today with a flip through of some new Golden Book Encyclopedia journals that I'm going to put in my Etsy shop this weekend. I had something exciting happen last week. I did a flip through of 2 Golden Book Encyclopedias that I put in my Etsy shop, and I admitted to this person when I saw her name on my Etsy transaction email. I was a little bit starstruck. But Gail Augustinelli purchased one of my journals, and she's using it to keep her correspondence from all of her Happy Mail and her subbies in. And she didn't think she'd have enough room in one book, so she requested a second one, and I made another book for her and have sent that to her. I'll link to the video below where Gail uses the journal that I made to start putting her correspondence in, her notes and cards and things like that from her subbies. So this past weekend, I was at a quilt retreat and I made books the entire time. So I made 3 new Golden Book Encyclopedias, and I'm gonna put them in my Etsy shop this weekend. And I thought I would do I'm gonna try to do this very quickly, do a quick flip through. I also wanted to take a second, almost forgot, to thank all the new subscribers that I have that came over from Gail's video. I really appreciate your support, and I hope that you can find something here on my channel inspiring. So let's get to the books. Here's the first one. This is Golden Book Encyclopedia Book 2. They are all the same size. The covers are about 7 by almost 10.5. I rebuilt the spines, and the piece that I added in is 1.5 inches wide, but the whole spine itself is almost about 2 inches across. They all have 4 signatures. There's 4 signatures, and it's an exposed pamphlet stitch binding with the knots on the inside of the book in the center of the signature. Somewhere. Okay, I'll show it to you when I get there. Okay, so here's the first one, book number 2. It has a pocket in the front with a little card so you can title your book or whatever you want to put in there. There's some wallpaper. I tried to include in almost every pocket has some kind of a journaling card. These books have a lot of fabric sewn onto the edges of the pages and sewn onto all the journaling cards. So this one, here's also it's a Belgian vegetable can label, vintage can label. So coffee dyed paper, old book pages, old atlas pages. It's from a gardening book. I included some of my painted composition paper. Pages from old sewing books. This is a page out of one of the Golden Book Encyclopedias. Old flashcards. So just like my other journals, this journal is made, you could use it as a glue book, you can journal in it. The way that I use my journals, I journal on other pieces of paper sometimes, and then I glue them in along with pictures, paint the pages. So the journals themselves are not very heavily embellished. The pages are nice and flat and smooth for you to add whatever you want to them, and you do the embellishing. That's how I prepare the journals for myself, is I go through, try to make them as cute as possible, but I leave them for the most part pretty blank, so that as I use them, as I go through and journal in them, then I can add the embellishment as I work through the journal. The other thing about my journals is that they're kind of an eclectic mix of pages and papers. I used new scrapbook paper throughout all 3 of these for the pockets and such, but all of the pages are either composition book paper that I coffee dyed or painted, or pages from vintage books and atlases. So there are plenty of pockets and tuck spots. Lots of little fabric trims sewn on the edges. envelopes for your secrets, journaling spots, at the quilt retreat this weekend, I was taking everybody's scraps. A lot of these fabrics are from my scrap bin, but I was I was like, give me your scraps. Anything you cut off, I can use to sew them onto these journaling cards. And I just love the variety that gives, because I have a huge selection of scraps, and then when I picked up trimmings and scraps from my friends, it made it even a more eclectic mix of fabrics. More painted pages, sewing book papers, journaling cards, lots of ruffles, stitched on cards. So that is book 2, and with each of these books I'm also going to include a little ephemera pack to kind of get you started on your journal if you need it. They're all very similar for all 3 of the books, but I'll just flip through one. There's some little laces and things in there, slides. You can split this open and take the film out, use it for something else. There's some vintage playing cards and flashcards, some vintage international canceled stamps. This one has a green stamps book, some grocery store bingo. These are some, here's the rest of it. These are some pages from a gold bond stamp book. Like the green stamps books, flashcards, some old labels. There's a very vintage message piece from a message pad, envelopes, vintage envelopes, some pages from a bird field guide, punch cards, some green stamps, pages from a vintage calendar, and then I've got a little Yahtzee card in there, and there are a few little garment pins or bulb pins. So each of these books will have one of these little kind of starter ephemera packs that comes with it, and that's the one that goes with book 2. So the next book is book 13, and it also has 4 signatures. So here's this one. It's a little coffee dyed card in the front there. Lots of tuck spots and plenty of room for journaling, gluing things in, photos, that sort of stuff. Because of all the fabric that's in these books, they are a little bit chunky to begin with. So if you like a chunky journal, that's how this is going to end up. Which I personally love, a big splayed open journal. I think it would be it's kind of fun, you know, to display a journal. You could display it like that when it's finished. Kind of like a little art piece. since I started making these Golden Book journals, now I've sold all the ones that I've made so far. So I'm gonna have to make myself one before I run out of covers, because I really think I would enjoy, I want to use this, this size. I think this size will be a lot of fun to work in. Coffee dyed paper, wallpaper, atlas pages. There's an envelope tuck spot. Painty pages. A little journaling card in an envelope with a little tuck spot. So there's book 13, and here's the little ephemera pack that will come with this book, and it's very similar to the others. There's some slide, some vintage canceled stamps, a really old envelope, some lace pieces, some playing cards, some flashcards, and some game pieces, some green stamps, a little coin envelope, some vintage receipt. Here's some pages from a bird field guide, vintage punch card, some more pages from, here's another one of those message pad book thingies, and then some more pages from Gold Bond savings stamps. This one has also an S&H book, green stamps book, and a piece from a vintage ledger that has some bookkeeping on it. So there's, and then of course I put in those little bulb pins. I like taking the bulb pins and pinning things onto the ruffles of my book. Let me see, where is my journal? Here's my journal, the one I'm using right now. So you can see, like right here, I just put some sequins on the bulb pin, and then just pinned it to the ruffle. So it's kind of fun to pin things to the ruffles. That's the only one I've done so far, but that's another way to use those, to use the little bulb pins. Okay, the third book is book 15. This one has a green spine, and they're all very similar. There's a little card in the front of that one. They're all similar, but they're all very different. The pages are different. The fabrics are different. I love putting a huge variety of fabrics into these journals. And I have left them with, you know, threads and strings exposed, and I like that kind of shabby feel. Plenty of you know, smooth pages for you to do your journaling on. This is some from the quilt retreat this weekend. Scraps from the quilt that a friend was making. Coffee dyed paper. Tuck spots. Journaling cards. More journaling space. Tuck spots. Love that coffee dyed paper. So that's, oh, I forgot to put something, I'll stick something in there. This is book 15, and here's the little ephemera pack that will come with book 15. So there's a slide and some little pieces of lace, some stamps, vintage stamps, and some old labels. You'll have to glue these. The adhesive doesn't work anymore. Some green stamps, some vintage playing cards and game cards. This one has some old yellowed index cards, some gold bond savings stamps, pages from an old desk diary, vintage bird book pages, field guide, punch cards. Here's a phone calls memo pad, a very vintage envelope. There's a Yahtzee card, and then this one also has an onion skin piece of paper and matching envelope. I love the way these feel. So that's what I have, guys. I think what I'm going to do is, so I have a day or two to take the photos and get everything listed on Etsy. I think I'm going to put these in my Etsy shop Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm in Texas, so it's Central Time. So I'll have these set up to go live in the Etsy shop then. And again, I'll link to Gail's video that she did where she's using her journal. You can kind of see how she's using it. So I appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.